In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is...
My daughter said to me, "If you really loved me, you would pay for my dream wedding," and she forbade me to attend. What happened next changed our lives forever. Honestly, I never thought I would find myself in a situation like this. I am still processing everything that has happened. I am a 55-year-old woman who has worked hard all her life. My only daughter is Luna, a 22-year-old, and I have always tried to give her the best. During her growing up years, I did my utmost to provide her with a good life, whether it was attending her school events or giving her emotional support through the ups and downs that come with growing up. Luna is a kind person, although she can be quite stubborn and headstrong at times. She has always been a dreamer, and that is one of the qualities I most admire in her. However, sometimes those dreams can cloud her judgment. Lately, I have noticed that she is more obsessed with material things, like planning the perfect wedding, instead of focusing on what is truly important. She often gets caught up in what she thinks she deserves, instead of seeing reality as it is. I understand that Luna is still young, and I understand her enthusiasm for this new stage in her life, but sometimes she finds it hard to see the whole picture and accept that things don't always turn out the way we want them to, no matter how much we want them to. Luna is engaged to Jackson, a nice 24-year-old guy. I've known him for a few years. They make a good couple, and honestly, I like him. Jackson comes from a wealthy family, especially his father, Lawrence, a 55-year-old man. Lawrence and I have been friends since childhood. We grew up in the same small town, and our families had a close relationship. Even when our lives took different paths, we always kept in touch. He has always been a kind person, and I admire his dedication and achievements. Lawrence has built a successful career and is well off. Lawrence has always been like a father to Luna. Her biological father died when she was just a baby, so Lawrence took on that paternal role. He cared deeply for her and was there for her through difficult times, helping her with her studies and advising her as she grew up. He loved her as if she were his own daughter, and she trusted him completely. As Luna grew older, Lawrence continued to be a fundamental part of her life. He supported her whenever she needed it and wanted the best for her. Even when they disagreed, his love for her never diminished. When Luna started dating Jackson, I was happy for her. I could see that they really cared for each other, and I thought they made a good couple. When Luna and Jackson got engaged, I was delighted. I had always wanted to be part of Luna's life and share those special moments with her. Like any mother, I was excited about their wedding plans, but it wasn't long before things started to get complicated, and that excitement quickly turned to frustration. It all started when Luna came to see me one afternoon and very directly told me that she expected me to pay for the entire wedding. I was taken aback because I didn't even have any idea how much they were planning to spend, and I had assumed that we would all pitch in to make the day special. I asked her about the budget, and she replied that she had her heart set on an extravagant celebration. I was surprised by her answer, but I tried to remain calm. I told her I could contribute $25,000. It seemed like a generous amount, enough to cover a good part of the wedding, but not so much as to completely deplete my savings or put me in financial difficulty. Luna not only refused the $25,000, but reacted angrily. She accused me of not prioritizing her happiness, saying that if I really cared about her, I would try harder and cover all the expenses. Then she said something that stunned me. "My fiancé's father is rich enough to take care of this. Why should I settle for less than I deserve?" At that moment, I felt completely taken aback. I didn't know how to respond. For the first time, I felt that Luna was more focused on the wedding itself than on our relationship. She went on to say that if I couldn't afford to give her the wedding of her dreams, then I shouldn't get involved at all. It broke my heart to hear those words. How could she say that to me? It was extremely painful, and I felt as if she was choosing an idealized version of her wedding over our mother-daughter bond. I tried to explain to her that, although I loved her and wanted to contribute, I simply couldn't afford to pay for everything. I reminded her that Jackson's father, Lawrence, was wealthy, and that it wasn't fair to expect me to assume all the financial responsibility, but Luna didn't want to listen to reason. She said that Lawrence could just take care of everything and that I should just get on with it. She didn't stop there. She even told me that if I wasn't willing to fund the wedding completely, I shouldn't attend. She said she would rather have an authentic celebration without anyone who wasn't willing to support her dreams. That was the last straw for me. I was stunned. I felt that my own daughter was disrespecting me, someone for whom I had sacrificed so much. I decided then that I would no longer take part in planning the wedding. It wasn't just about the money. It was about how she had treated me. It wasn't simply a difference of opinion about the finances. It felt like a complete lack of gratitude, a total disregard for everything I had done for her throughout her life. After that, Luna went ahead with her plans for the wedding. She was clearly set on a big celebration, and I assumed she thought Lawrence would step in and pay for everything. After all, she believed it was only fair that Jackson's wealthy father should cover the cost since he could afford to. I stayed out of it. I really didn't care anymore. I needed to distance myself from all of this. However, as the wedding date approached, problems began to arise. Luna and Jackson approached Lawrence, thinking he would simply pay for the whole wedding. But Lawrence, who had always been kind and helpful, said no. He said he was happy for the couple, but he would not pay for an extravagant wedding, especially since he had not been consulted about any of the plans. He was also disappointed that I was being excluded from the wedding. His response was clear. He did not believe it was his duty to pay for a wedding that had been planned without his involvement. At first, Luna did not know how to respond to this. She was unprepared, frustrated, and, quite honestly, quite angry. Jackson was also upset, but took it a little better. I suppose in some ways he had anticipated this outcome. Even so, I could tell that they were both disappointed. It was becoming clear that their expectations were not going to be met, and their dream wedding was quickly turning into a financial burden they had not anticipated. As time went by, the situation became tense. Luna and Jackson were struggling to find the money for the wedding they had planned. Their options were running out and the pressure was mounting. Suddenly, Luna contacted me. She called and apologized for how she had treated me. She admitted that she had been too focused on the idea of having a dream wedding and that she had pushed me away. She told me that Lawrence wasn't going to help and that she needed me now. She begged me to step in and help cover the cost, telling me that without my support, they wouldn't be able to have the wedding. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to help my daughter. I love her, and I want her to have a happy life. But another part of me was still hurt by how she had treated me. I couldn't just ignore the way she had pushed me aside when I didn't comply with her demands. I wanted to help, but I also wanted to make sure she understood the consequences of her actions. I told Luna that I would be willing to help, but that it wouldn't be the full amount I originally wanted. I wasn't going to pay for everything. This was not well received. Luna immediately started throwing a tantrum. She was furious, shouting, accusing me of not caring about her happiness. She claimed that I was ruining her wedding and that it was selfish of me not to pay for everything. I had never heard her speak to me like that before. I felt as if all the respect we had for each other disappeared in an instant. I tried to stay calm, but it was difficult to hear her say those things, especially since I was only trying to help within my means. I knew Luna was upset, but I couldn't let her pressure me into spending more than I was willing to give. Now Luna and Jackson are still struggling to figure out how to pay for the wedding, so here I am wondering if I did the right thing. Part of me still feels Luna took me for granted, and part of me just wants to make things right. Am I the bad guy for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding after she demanded I cover everything, and now I hesitate to help her financially given how she treated me? Update 1. Luna and Jackson got married last month. It was the wedding Luna had always dreamed of. From what I understand, it was a big event. Everything she had imagined and more. They had an extravagant ceremony in a beautiful location with gorgeous flowers and basically everything expensive. Neither Lawrence nor I attended the wedding. I wasn't invited, and to be honest, after everything that had happened, I couldn't show up. I didn't expect to receive an invitation after Luna's demand that I pay for the wedding, but when I wasn't even asked to be part of the celebration, it hurt deeply. The wedding went ahead without me. Lawrence didn't attend either. After the wedding, things quickly took an unexpected turn. Luna and Jackson's financial difficulties were not something anyone had anticipated. After all, they had been convinced that the wedding would be the highlight of their lives and had not considered the consequences of their decisions. From what I have heard, Luna and Jackson borrowed $50,000 from someone of dubious reputation. They didn't go to a bank or a legitimate lender. They turned to someone whose interest rates were incredibly high, probably because no formal entity would have taken them seriously. It's the kind of decision that only people who feel desperate or entitled would make, and desperate, I think, is exactly how they felt after their wedding. They went ahead with their extravagant plans, ignoring any doubts about their financial situation. Luna wanted the big celebration. She wanted the dress, the venue, the flowers, the guests, and the perfect day for photographs. And Jackson, despite his better judgment, seemed to go along with it. It wasn't just about the wedding anymore. It was about keeping up appearances and giving Luna everything she wanted, even if it meant getting seriously into debt. They took out a $50,000 loan, probably without realizing how it would affect them in the long term. Now they are dealing with that debt, and every day is a struggle to make ends meet. They are both juggling 2 jobs, trying to pay off their loan and cover their bills. Luna works in a cafe and has also taken on some freelance projects. Jackson is taking extra shifts where he can, but it's still not enough. Their financial situation is a mess. They thought they could handle it, but now they see how deeply in debt they are. With the high interest on the loan, they feel trapped in a cycle of debt. It's not just about paying off the loan. It's about surviving from day to day, managing the stress, and hoping for a change in their situation. Unfortunately, things have only gotten worse. Since the wedding, they haven't had a moment to rest. They are both physically, emotionally, and financially exhausted. Luna, who once dreamed of her perfect day, now spends her time working long hours just to pay the bills. Jackson is in the same situation, but even that is not enough. They are struggling to survive, and their financial problems are becoming overwhelming. They have made many sacrifices, but it still doesn't seem enough. They are running out of energy, and the beautiful wedding they imagined has turned into a daily nightmare. After everything that happened, all the problems they faced, I couldn't just sit back and watch Luna and Jackson struggle. I still love my daughter. She's my only child. No matter how things turned out, I wanted to help. I wasn't entirely sure what lessons they had learned from their choices, but I knew they were in a difficult situation now, and I felt the need to step in and offer my support. So I reached out to Luna and Jackson. I called them. When I couldn't get through, I sent them a message saying that I was still willing to give them $25,000. I explained that, although I couldn't cover everything as they initially wanted, I was offering what I could and hoped they would accept it. I kept my message simple and direct, avoiding any mention of the past or hurtful words. I just wanted them to know that, despite everything, I still cared about them and wanted to make things easier for them. I felt it was the right decision, even if I wasn't sure they would take me seriously. I wanted to show them that I didn't hold a grudge. I was very surprised when they didn't respond, at all. No acknowledgement, no thanks, nothing. I waited a few days hoping they would change their minds, but there was total silence, and that silence was really deafening. Feeling frustrated, I decided to consult with Lawrence, thinking he might have had better luck. I asked him if he had heard from them since the wedding, or if he knew what was going on. He mentioned that he had also offered to help, as had I. He reached out to see how he could help, but he too was ignored. He was as confused as I was. It seemed that they were not interested in accepting help from either of us. It was hard to understand. Were they too proud to accept our support? Or were they so caught up in their own problems that they couldn't see that we were trying to lend a hand? Update 2. A week ago, I received a voicemail from Luna. It was unexpected. She asked if we could meet, and I honestly didn't know what to think. Although I had my doubts, I agreed. We decided to meet at a nearby cafe, a cozy place we used to frequent. We went there together all the time when she was younger. I wasn't entirely sure what would happen, but I tried hard to keep an open mind. When I arrived, I saw her sitting at a table by the window. She looked different. Her face was pale, her eyes puffy and red, as if she had been crying for a long time. As soon as she saw me, she got up, and before I could say a word, she burst into tears. I was taken aback by her sudden emotional outburst. I had prepared myself for a difficult conversation, but I hadn't expected to find her in such a vulnerable state. At first, she didn't say anything, she just kept sobbing. Her state made me deeply sad, but it also left me confused. I sat down in front of her and did my best to comfort her. I assured her that we could get through this together, that things would get better, and that I was there to listen to her. She is my daughter, after all. I couldn't act as if seeing her so vulnerable didn't affect me. Suddenly, Luna let out a scream. It was so loud that it seemed to fill the whole cafeteria. People around us stopped and stared, startled by the noise. I didn't know how to react. I was clearly overwhelmed and felt completely lost on how to handle the situation. The scream drew everyone's attention, and I felt all eyes on us. It was uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to say or do at that moment. She exclaimed, "You ruined everything, and if you had just paid for everything like I asked you to, I would have been happy with my life." She said that it was my fault that everything had failed and that nothing had worked. I felt the words hit me like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she still blame me for everything? I tried to stay calm, but it was difficult. I tried to explain in a low voice, telling her that I had done the best I could. I reminded her that I had offered $25,000 to help with the wedding, even though I couldn't afford to pay for everything. I still tried to support her in making her dream wedding come true, but Luna wasn't listening. She started walking around the table, still shouting, still blaming me for everything that had gone wrong. The cafe fell silent. I could feel the other customers' eyes on us, but Luna didn't seem to care. She was in the middle of a total meltdown, and I was the target of all her frustration and anger. She accused me of never caring about her, of only caring about myself. She said that if I had paid for everything, I wouldn't be in this mess. She continued to insult me, calling me names and telling me that I had ruined her life. She claimed that I didn't love her, that I hadn't supported her like a mother should. I reminded her that I had always supported her, but I tried to make her understand that I was not a bank with unlimited funds. I couldn't be responsible for every decision she made. I couldn't be expected to cover every expense just because she wanted a perfect fairy tale wedding. But she didn't want to hear it. She kept shouting, blaming me for everything from the debt they had accumulated to the difficulties she and Jackson were now facing. She insisted that if I had given her more money, more help, more of everything, then everything would have turned out perfectly. I tried talking to her again, but it was obvious that it wouldn't work. She was angry and frustrated, and nothing I said could reach her. At that moment, tired of trying to stay calm, I lost my temper. I told her that I was finished, that I was sick of trying to make her understand, sick of offering help only to be treated with such disrespect. I had had enough. I told her that she was no longer welcome in my house, and that I wasn't going to give her another penny. I had made it clear that I didn't appreciate anything she had already done, so I wouldn't do anything else. She seemed to get even angrier and yelled again. She tried to make me feel guilty, begging me not to abandon her. She kept saying that I was her mother, but at that moment, I couldn't take it anymore. I had reached my limit. I couldn't allow her to treat me as if I were just a backup for her emotions and finances. I picked up my bag and left, but she kept shouting. I could hear her until I drove away. I don't think I want her in my life anymore. This was extremely exhausting and disrespectful, but I need some opinions. Am I overreacting? Should I really cut ties with her, or should I try to talk to her again? Update 3. A few days after my meeting with Luna, Lawrence got in touch with me. He called and explained that Jackson had contacted him. Jackson was asking for some money to help cover his growing financial problems. It was clear that they were really struggling. Jackson, who had always been somewhat proud and independent, seemed desperate at this point. Luna, as expected, did not agree with Jackson accepting money from his father. Lawrence told me that Luna felt it was beneath her dignity to accept help from him, especially considering how successful Lawrence was. She had always had this sense of pride and the belief that they should be able to sort things out for themselves. Her attitude was putting Jackson in a difficult situation, as he really didn't want to upset Luna. But the weight of their debt was clearly starting to crush them both. In the end, Jackson chose to borrow some money from Lawrence to reduce his debt. It wasn't a large amount, just enough to lighten the load a little. However, Luna had no idea that her husband had done this. Lawrence insisted that Luna should not find out and asked me to keep it a secret. I agreed, knowing it was not my place to tell her anything. The last thing I wanted was to complicate things even more, especially with all the tension that already existed. After Lawrence informed me, I told him about the incident at the cafe. He was upset about how things had turned out between us, but he understood why I made the decision I did. It wasn't easy for him either. He'd known Luna since she was a baby. He cared deeply about her and certainly didn't want to see her suffer, but he also knew, as did I, that I couldn't continue to enable her behavior. There was only so much we could do before it became unhealthy for us to keep rescuing her. It wasn't easy for Lawrence to accept this, but he agreed that sometimes tough love was necessary. He admitted that he too had been frustrated with the way things were going, but he didn't want to make it worse by saying something inappropriate. Update 4. Many people have been curious to know if Lawrence and I ever had a romantic relationship. I want to clarify that Lawrence and I have never been a couple. We have known each other for many years, and he has always felt like a brother to me. We were part of the same close group of friends, and we always supported each other. Our families were also close, which meant that we spent a lot of time together. He has been a great support in my life. Luna's father, my husband, passed away when she was only 5 years old. Everything changed for us. Suddenly I had to raise Luna on my own, which was overwhelming. Lawrence immediately offered his help. He stepped in as family, even though we weren't related by blood. He supported me in many ways, emotionally and even financially when things were difficult. Lawrence made sure I didn't have to face those difficult times alone, whether it was by giving advice or helping me overcome the challenges of being a single mother. He was always there for me. Luna took the death of her father very badly, and being a single mother was sometimes too much for me. Lawrence didn't just express his sympathy. He actively supported us in every possible way. He helped guide Luna as she grew up, providing her with the male role model she needed. Although he wasn't her biological father, Luna admired and trusted him, and he treated her as if she were his own daughter. I am so grateful for everything Lawrence did for us during that time, and it only strengthened our sisterly bond. Without him, I honestly don't know how I would have coped. Lawrence even took us in for a while before I could start working properly. I owe him so much. Lawrence is family to me. Update 5. A few weeks ago, I received a voicemail from Jackson that took me by surprise. He apologized for everything that went wrong between us, particularly in relation to Luna. He seemed genuinely distressed. He felt responsible for letting things get out of control. At first, I hesitated to call him back because I was still angry and hurt by Luna's actions, and I wasn't sure I had the emotional strength to talk to Jackson. However, as time went by, I felt I should listen to him. He was trying to take responsibility for the situation, so I decided to call him. During our conversation, Jackson didn't ask me for anything, except for the opportunity to apologize. I could feel that he meant it, and it was clear that he really regretted what had happened. He acknowledged that he had let Luna take control of the wedding plans and admitted that he should have intervened earlier. I couldn't ignore that he was making an effort to put things right. I was still dealing with the aftermath of the wedding chaos, and while I wasn't ready to forgive him completely, I also realized that he didn't deserve to be totally excluded. After some reflection, I decided to help Jackson. I kept it a secret from Luna because I wasn't sure how she would react, and I didn't want her to disrespect me again. I could see that Jackson was really trying to make things right, so I gave him some money. It wasn't much, but it would help them pay off some of their debt. I knew it wouldn't solve everything, but it would give them some relief. Since then, I've seen some progress. The debt is still there, but it has decreased considerably. Jackson and Luna are working harder, taking on extra shifts and cutting back on expenses. They look tired, but at least it seems that things are gradually improving. They still have a long way to go, but it's encouraging to see their efforts. Luna doesn't know about my support, and I don't intend to tell her anytime soon. If he found out, it would probably make things worse. He would probably get angry with Jackson and blame him for not handling the situation well. Luna doesn't know that Lawrence and I have been secretly helping them together. I told Lawrence that I had also given Jackson some money, which pleased him. He was disappointed by how Luna had treated both of us. Jackson is still going through a difficult time, although he has made some progress. The burden of debt is still heavy. He is now juggling 2 jobs to manage his financial obligations. Luna is also working hard, but I can see that she is struggling. It seems that they have not had a break since the wedding, and they are just trying to survive. They are overwhelmed, but they are doing their best to improve their situation. Despite all this, Luna still doesn't fully understand the extent of the help she is receiving. She thinks they are slowly paying off the debt themselves through their extra jobs. She believes Jackson is handling everything, which is just what he wants. He doesn't want her to feel the stress of knowing we are helping them. He understands that would only complicate things further, and they don't need that now. Lawrence and I are keeping our distance from Luna for now. We've both done what we can to help Jackson recover, but we know that eventually Luna will have to face the consequences of her actions. Maybe one day she'll realize that our help wasn't about controlling her, but about providing support when it was most needed. For now, I will keep my distance from Luna and continue to support Jackson in silence. In time, she may appreciate the sacrifices we have made, not only for her sake, but also for her future.